Welcome back, Minties. This is Omar from Near Mint Condition, and today I'm going to be your host for part 1 of the comprehensive reading order of Hulk in collected editions. So, stay tuned. The first thing I want to say is thank you to all the people that have commented on these comprehensive reading order videos. You guys give me so many ideas, and like I said, I love hearing what you want me to do next, but I have to have the books. And this is one of those times that I'm like, oh, shit, I forgot I had sold some of my Hulk books, and I'll explain here in a second. So what you see right here is pretty much Volume 1. Part 2 of this series will focus on the post-Volume 1 stuff. So this takes us all the way up until the Heroes Return era, and we'll talk about that in this video. So yes, there are a couple that are missing, and I'm going to explain what they are and why I sold them. Of course, the very first thing you see is The Incredible Hulk Omnibus Volume 1. And why I sold it was because I heard they were going to start doing epic collections of Hulk. Hulk isn't one of my favorite characters. It's not X-Men, it's not Avengers, so I figured, yeah, I'll just pick up the epics. So I sold my Omnibus. And I'll talk about the other books I sold here in a minute, because I was expecting more epics to be released by now. Alright, so the very first one that kicks off, this is Epic Volume 1. This contains Incredible Hulk from 1962, issues 1 through 6, Fantastic Four number 12, 25, and 26, Avengers 1 through 3, and issue 5, Amazing Spider-Man 14, Tales to Astonish 59, and Journey into Mystery 112. So it's kind of scattered about. It has all his early appearances, but it kicks off the Tales to Astonish books, which is where he primarily appeared back then. Here's some of that early Jack Kirby artwork, and most of the stories are done by Stan Lee, art by Jack Kirby. Like those Fantastic Four issues. A lot of this stuff was collected in that Omnibus, and I'll talk about what originally was collected in that Omni. Here's the Spider-Man issue, so this stuff's here by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. And some of the pinup and artwork back here in the back, the covers to the Masterworks. And what's back here? And that's the Alex Ross cover that they used for the Omnibus. Now let's look at Volume 2. This is Volume 2. This is the one that people have complained about, some of them, saying that the spine is not aligned properly. I don't know. For some reason, epics, when they're released, sometimes they're kind of hit or miss, which kind of suck because these are like $40 books. And that's the way that I like to collect them. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this. This is Epic Volume 2. Introduction of more villains from the Hulk storylines, and also collects issues of Tales to Astonish 60 through 96. That's before the book was known as Hulk. And material from Not Brand Ek number 3. Ek. I never know how to pronounce that. I think I say that in every one of these videos. This is the stuff I wanted to point out. This is when Jack Kirby was doing the layouts and Bob Powell was doing the finishes. So the art style, very still splashing out of the panels, but it's got a different amount of detail, unlike Kirby's art. This is all from Tales to Astonish. And again, layout by Kirby, and this time it's Scott Edward that does the finishes. And if you know anything about the Epic line as well, is they're not released in chronological order. The last one that came out was Ghost of the Future, and before that was, and that's Volume 23, I believe, and the one before that was Volume 3. So they bounce back and forth. We still don't have anything in the middle with Peter David's stuff, which is why I'm holding on to those Visionaries. I'll talk about that here in a second. And this finishes out Volume 2. By the way, as you can tell, the epics don't have a number system on the spine, which is nice because you could put them up with trade paperbacks. The numbers are in the back here, and they tell you the years that they collect. Now let's move on to Volume 3. Okay, Volume 3. This is the last one that's come out. The cover is a little thinner than the other ones that have been released. I'm not sure if that's their way of cutting corners, but I've noticed that right away as soon as I got this one. The paper, however, is still just as thick. Now we have Tales to Astonish and changing the name over to The Incredible Hulk. So this collects the final issues of Tales to Astonish, which is 97 through 101. And then the title changes over to Incredible Hulk. So then we have Incredible Hulk 102 to 117, Annual number 1, and then material from Not Brand Ek number 9. And that's all we have so far as early epics from the Silver Age. there was just a current one that just dropped in the Hachette catalog, and I'm thinking that's going to be a volume 4. It's called In the Hands of Hydra. Comes out in October of 2019. I think that's going to be Epic number 4, just based on the title, because the title In the Hands of Hydra was the title to issue 132 of Hulk. So hey, more Hulk epics? That's awesome. But I wish they would start doing some of the stuff in the middle, like the Bill Mantlo years, because I sold those. And before I talk about that, I'll talk about the Omnibus. So the Omnibus that I did sell collects Incredible Hulk 1 through 6, Tales to Astonish 59 through 101, and Incredible Hulk 102. So it's got a little bit of everything from the first 3 epics. Still, I don't regret selling it. I guess they weren't announcing a volume 2, and we didn't get a damn Hulk Omnibus until the Planet Hulk back here, which is just for show. I'm going to talk about that in part 2 of this overview series. And yeah, I was like, well, I guess we're never going to get a Hulk volume 2 or 3, so I'm going to go ahead and drop it and pick up the epics when they came out, when they were first announced. And the first one, I believe, was volume 1, if I'm not mistaken, the Man or Monster, and then Ghost of the Past, which they've been doing, the Peter David run. All right, let's talk about what comes next. Okay, if you're not familiar with this series, this is the Marvel Premiere hardcover series. They also had a variant cover. There was a DM cover and then the standard cover. These were nice, standard size hardcovers, and eventually they released them in trade paperbacks, I believe. This is one of those collections that has my favorite story, and I also refuse to give up because they haven't announced an epic of it yet. This is one of the few that I kept, because I don't normally collect books like this, because this collects Incredible Hulk 140, 148, 156, and then 202 and 203, 205 to 207, 246 to 248, and What If 23. So it jumps all over the place, and I hate collections like this. But it's got awesome stories by Harlan Ellison and Bill Mantlo, so that's the reason why I kept it. And of course, amazing artwork by Sal Buscema, who's the underrated brother between him and John. I mean, look at that. I love the way he draws the Hulk. Of course, it probably has something to do with Joe Staton on inks. And I don't hear enough love for Sal Buscema, honestly. The guy is a fast artist, too. I know John is the one that mostly gets a lot of love, probably because of his work on Conan and Tarzan and eventually Wolverine and bigger titles like that. But Sal had a great run on Hulk and Spectacular Spider-Man. And just a little bit more of this. I like these, but, you know, for the price and the amount of books you got, I'm glad they announced the epic line. And as soon as, yeah, this is the Heart of the Atom. This is one of my favorite stories with Jarella. And as soon as they announce an epic of these, I'll be letting this go. Now, what happens? Why is there a gap? Well, I'm an idiot. As soon as they announced these epics, I was like, okay, I'm not going to get rid of the Peter Hulk epics. I'm going to get rid of the Bill Mantlo stuff, because those trades are big enough that they're probably the size of epics, and all they have to do is just reprint them and put epic on them. That was probably back 4 or 5 years ago, and I'm still waiting on them, and I regret selling them. So, really quick, there was a trilogy of Bill Mantlo trades, and the first one is Hulk Pardon. That one collects Incredible Hulk 269 to 285. Then we have Hulk Regression. That one collects Incredible Hulk 286 to 300 and annual number 12. And then Hulk Crossroads, that finishes out the trilogy. And that one collects issues 301 to 313, annual 13, and Alpha Flight 29, which Bill Mantlo was writing at the time. And another thing that I didn't pick up was the Hulk Visionaries by John Byrne, because they never announced a volume 2, and I was waiting and waiting and waiting, and nothing happened. Collected Incredible Hulk 314 to 319, and annual 14, plus the Marvel Fanfare number 29. Now, let's get to the big books that I want to talk about. The book that made me a fan of Hulk. Of course, I'm talking about Peter David's run on Hulk. The greatest run on Hulk still. My favorite run. And yes, I love Greg Pak stuff, but this is the stuff that made me a fan. Let's look at this really quick. And this is volume 1. This is called the Peter David Visionaries. These collected an artist or a writer-focused book. So when I saw Peter David, I'm like, holy crap, there's going to be a ton of those, because Peter David wrote these for years, decades. So the first Visionary collects Incredible Hulk issue 331 through 339. These were originally published in 1987, as you can tell. This is early art by the great Todd McFarlane. Like before this, I liked some of the Hulk stories off and on, but this run is the one that I would pick up monthly, because I was dedicated to finding out what happened to Bruce, that he was able to humanize this monster, like for the first time that I had read, and make him into a believable character. I think that, yeah, this is the one that Todd McFarlane drew with X Factor. And it made me fall in love with those secondary characters in the book, like Betty and Rick. So yeah, thank you, Peter David, for that. I'll just quickly go through here, because there's a lot to cover. That's why I'm splitting this up into 2 parts, because I knew I would talk about Peter David for a while. Yeah, the infamous Ground Zero 340 issue kicks off. And I think this gives you, like, this is back when they were doing previews of books. Volume 2, I don't need to talk about the cover. That's, you've seen that homage everywhere. That is the classic cover to issue 340. So, this collects Incredible Hulk issue 340 to 348. And that's it. However, this has an awesome storyline, the Ground Zero storyline. This is when McFarlane was, like, starting to change up his style, too. To the McFarlane that you know now that drew Amazing Spider-Man. This is, yeah, actually, this is right before he took over Amazing Spider-Man. He was inking his own stuff and developed his own style, perfected it. There's the leader. So not only does the leader appear, but you have guest stars like Wolverine and Nick Fury and the Absorbing Man. And let's see here. And the Hulk during this time is gray, so he's super strong. But something's about to happen that leads into the next storyline. And I believe this is some Eric Larson stuff when he took over the book eventually. Yeah, this is Eric Larson's run. Right after Todd McFarlane left to go do Spider-Man, Eric Larson became the penciler on the book. And there's the Absorbing Man. All right, let's look at Volume 3. And here is Volume 3. By the way, I didn't show the close-up of what the spines look like. They all have a number here on the back. This collects Incredible Hulk issues 349 through 354, and Web of Spider-Man 44, and Fantastic Four 320. So, in this particular issue, we have, yeah, Dr. Doom, you have the Thing versus the Hulk, and then, yes, the big change. Something happens where the Hulk is green and gray. So, yeah, this leads to a huge event. And here's some more of that artwork. Most of the stuff here is drawn by Jeff Purvis and Keith Pollard. Yeah, those are the artists on this book. While not as detailed as McFarlane, I really liked their panel work, though. And let's move on to Volume 4. Here is Volume 4 of Visionaries. And let's look through here. I believe Herb made a return as a penciler on these two, with Jeff Purvis still on art. It's before the Del Keon stuff, and Sam Keith, I think, made a... Yeah, there's... I want to say that's John Byrne or Del Keon. Del Keon had such a John Byrne style. Like, I remember when he first came on, I thought it was John Byrne back drawing X-Men again. Or Incredible Hulk. Always got X-Men on the mind. Okay, so Volume 4 collects Incredible Hulk 355 to 363, and Marvel Comics presents 26 and 45. And I love those Marvel Comics present books. So pretty much there were 4 stories collected in one magazine, like an X-Men story, a Captain America story, an Iron Man story, and a Hulk story or whatever. That's where Weapon X first premiered, is those Marvel Comic Presents books. And I think this one features, yeah, the Gray Gargoyle, Killer Whales, I remember that story, and Iron Man and Werewolf by Midnight. By Night. And here is Volume 5. This is probably one of my favorite ones, because this is where Del Keon started drawing these. And it also features the return of the Defenders. So, oh yeah, this kicks off with the Countdown storyline, which has cover art by Walter Simonson. So it's the Countdown storyline, and each one focuses on a different character that he has to fight. First one, of course, Annihilation, then the Thing, the Leader. Let's see who else is there. And there is Del Keon's artwork right there. That's when he first started. So I thought it was John Byrne, like I was saying, and it turns out it wasn't. It was this new up-and-coming artist, and God, I fell in love with his art. Here's one of those Sam Keith issues. I love that guy's art, too. So anyway, this collects issues 364 through 372, and also annual number 16. And let's look at Volume 6. So Del Keon stuck around with the book for a while, because he was the primary artist on Hulk for a long time. believe this has the Christmas with the Rhino storyline. That's a pretty good one. Super Skrull, Bucky and Cap. Yeah, still the odds with Green and Gray Hulk, and this classic issue right here, 377. So this collects Incredible Hulk 373 to 382. And it has guest stars by Doc Samson, and like I said, the Rhino, also Nick Fury, and that classic 377 issue. I love it. Oh man, Del Keown was kicking so much ass during his run. Look at that art, it's just beautiful. Come on, Marvel. When are we going to get Omnis of these? I mean, really, to do the Visionaries, we just need 2 Omnis, or you could do 4 Epics. People need to read these, and these have been out of print for so long. Oh, yes, it's probably my favorite Hulk, the Green Smart Hulk, when he joined the Pantheon. And here is Volume 7. Still Del Keown kicking ass with that awesome artwork. The Return of the Abomination, reuniting the Defenders because of the Infinity Gauntlet that was going on. Yeah, this has the Infinity Gauntlet storyline. It's a pretty badass trade, actually. Collecting issues 383 to 389 and Hulk Annual number 17. More of that Peter David awesome goodness, and yeah, this beautiful artwork, if you're not familiar with him. Now, he left eventually to go work on his own, create her own series called Pit. And every once in a while, he'll come back to do a Marvel and DC book. I think the last thing he did, he was reunited with Peter David for that Hulk the End book, which I'll talk about in part 2 of this. And there's this is my Hulk right here, the Green Smart Hulk. I love this Hulk. And Man-Thing, I forgot about that issue too. It's a powerful issue. Here is Volume 8 with the classic cover right there. Oh, man. Punisher, yeah. Okay, so this is the final volume of the Visionaries. They canceled this line. This came out in 2011. So I was so devastated. I was like, oh man, that sucks. This is the final Peter David book, and we're not going to get any more. And it ends on a high note because this collects the X Factor crossover issues. So this collects Incredible Hulk 390 to 396, and then some of the stuff from Annual 18. I say some because it was, I think, a crossover event, and they didn't want to include everything in here. And also X Factor 76. Let's look through here. Yeah, and then Del Keown ended up leaving the book. This is the stuff from the Annual. I think Gary Frank was next up on art. So yes, in 2011, we got the final volume of this. Yeah, it was a crossover event. That's why I didn't collect everything. And it wasn't until 4 years later that Marvel decided to do the Epic line for Hulk. And one of the first books they did was Volume 19. And let's look at that really quick. And here is Volume 19. As you can tell, it's written by Peter David and Ron Marz. Del Keown is still on art. So this is a continuation of the Visionary series, because this collects Incredible Hulk 397 to 406, Annuals 18 and 19, and then I think the crossover parts of Namor Annual number 2, the Submariner Annual, the Silver Surfer Annual 5, and Doctor Strange Annual number 2. It also has the Marvel Holiday Special 2. And so the Epic line, like I was saying, has the number on the back. So this is Volume 19. And if you're keeping up, Volume 3 was the last Epic we had before that Volume 4 was announced. So that's a huge gap of books they haven't collected yet in Epic format. Most of them, of course, like I said, that I want them to collect are the Peter David run. And let's look through more here. These are huge. This is like over 350 pages. I love these Epic books, and I wish they would continue with this. Yeah, Gary Frank took over the book. He became the regular penciler after Dale left. This introduces us to the new leader, and oh man, this awesome. I remember this cover right here. Had like sparkles. It was one of those 90s covers. And then you have the pinups in the back. Ghost of the Past, original trade paperback cover. That's by the late Mike Wieringo. And some stuff here in the back. I'm a fan of Epic, so this is why. I have to give it to Marvel. They keep cranking these out. This is Volume 20 of the Incredible Hulk Epic Collection. And collecting issues 407 to 419, Annual number 20, one of the best storylines ever collected in anything, but with Peter David on writing and George Perez on art. And that is the Future Imperfect miniseries. It has issues 1 and 2. It's got the Hulk Ashcan edition. That was a big thing back in the 90s, at least from what I remember, especially with the Image stuff. And then material from the Marvel Holiday Special number 3. But the fact that this collects the Imperfect Future makes this all worth getting. It's just such, there it is. Such an awesome storyline with Maestro and just George Perez on art. It takes place in the future. They were originally released, like I said, as 2 little graphic novels. Little. There's nothing little about George Perez and his artwork. How dare I? And it introduces us to a new character actually new characters that play bigger roles later on. So if you've never read them, at least try to pick up this epic, because that is worth the price of admission just for that. And here is more of the artwork by Gary Frank before he eventually took off. This is one of the few times you get to see Peter David drawn in a comic book. And there he is for the wedding of Rick and Margot. And oh, is that Travis Charest? Let me see if this is Travis Charest on art. Now, this guy went and blew up. Nope, I'm an idiot. That is Roger Cruz, a guy that wishes he was like Travis Charest. Man, some things I just can't let go of. And these are all little side stories. Roger Cruz ripping off Jim Lee's art, and I don't know who did that. But let's look at the next volume. Here's volume 21, Fall of the Pantheon. Let's see. So this is the graphic novel Tales to Astonish. Yeah, they released the graphic novel like back in the late 90s. This was Tales to Astonish number 1, collected here. Hulk vs. Venom. If you have the Omnibus, this is also collected in the Omnibus, volume 1. Written by Peter David, that's why they kept it in there. And then it also has Incredible Hulk 420 to 435. Gary Frank, still on art primarily, but he is about to take off. So I think Angel Medina or Mike Deodato Jr. end up taking over the run. Oh, that's Derek Robertson right there. Man, what a badass artist. Love this stuff. I fell in love with this stuff ever since he did New Warriors. And I follow that guy everywhere he goes. That, I believe, is Mike Deodato Jr. or Liam Sharp. Maybe it was, yeah, Liam Sharp took over the book. He was a big Marvel UK guy. He did the Death's Head 2, among other books, and now he's kind of blown up. The last thing I remember him doing was Wonder Woman. Before that, he was over at CrossGen. Yeah, Liam Sharp. He draw the hell out of some big guys. Maybe that's why they got him on Hulk. That makes sense. But then again, when Liam Sharp draws, everybody's huge. And let's look a little bit more at the artwork. The build of these books are nice too, by the way. It's the volume 2 that I had the issue with for some reason. And volume 22, the next one that I'm going to show you guys. Let's look at that really quick, actually. Okay, here is Ghost of the Future. And this is volume 22 of the Epic line. Like I said, they are pumping out these Peter David books. Now, the cover on this is a little thinner. The pages are a little thinner on this than what I'm used to. Just before, like, comparing it to the volume 21 here, the pages seem thinner. I mean, I know it's a business and they got to cut corners where they can, but I hate when they do that to my books. It sucks because you pay a premium price for these. These aren't cheap. These are $40 each. So let's talk about the book. First of all, this collects Incredible Hulk 436 to 448, Savage Hulk 1, Cutting Edge 1, Cable 34, and Marvel Onslaught Universe number 1. Here's the Savage Hulk book, which I found awesome. This is the return of the characters from the Imperfect Future. So this is Ghost of the Future. There's Cutting Edge 1. Angel Medina now takes over the book after Liam Sharp. And eventually Mike Deodato Jr. takes on the reign of penciler. And we'll get to that here in a second. But I want to talk a little bit about more. Yeah, there's... God, actually, Angel Medina always drew big, huge dudes, too. Now, he had a big thing on Spider-Man, and he went to do Spawn, so he also blew up, and I also enjoy his artwork when it's inked properly, because same guy and somebody else inking his stuff just did not look right. That's supposed to be Thor, by the way. This is when he was going through his Warren Ellis and William Messner Loeb's phase. I wanted to talk about the future of these because I just wanted to focus on Volume 1. Like I said, Volume 1 takes us past the Onslaught years. I think right before the Heroes Return years, when they started renumbering everything, like Avengers, Captain America, Iron Man. They thought, because the character of Bruce Banner went into the Image universe, or into, I'm sorry, the Heroes Reborn universe, the character of Hulk stayed here. It was a very weird time in comic books. So weird that I left comic books, so I had to read the stuff afterwards. But what my point was, is that we have enough material from Peter David, because the book ends, Volume 1 ends with issue 474. We still need, like, the first appearance of the Thunderbolts, which is in issue 449. Never mind, I can't spoil. The death of a major character in issue 466. And Peter David's final issue was 467. So technically we have enough for 2 volumes of an epic run. If they want to take it all the way to 474, they can push it to 3 volumes, I guess, because I think Joe Casey, yeah, and Ed McGuinness, they were the guys that finished out Volume 1. I'm hoping that Marvel does the right thing and finishes, yeah, this is the Mike Deodato stuff. This is when he took over the book. Because there's still a lot of good stuff from Peter David here. And honestly, I never got to read the Joe Casey run, which, like, honestly lasted probably 8-9 issues, but I still wanted to read it. And then we will kick off Volume 2 with John Byrne and Ron Garney's book the next time we do this. And here's some more stuff. The cover to the Marvel Onslaught that, I swear to God, has been printed everywhere by now. And that is everything in Volume 1. Well, like I said, except for the stuff that I sold. But I kind of told you where those go. Thank you very much for joining me. This is a lot of fun to do. If you want to leave comments down below for a character and series that you want me to do next, please do that. I love reading each comment and replying back. Let me know if I left anything out, too. Sometimes I've done that in the past. Like, I forget a trade paperback, like a Hulk and Defenders trade that was out. And this does not include the Masterworks stuff, because I realize that Masterworks are their own beast. So join me here in a week or two for part 2 of the comprehensive reading order of The Incredible Hulk. Thank you very much for watching. This was Omar. And remember, if it's classy and cool, it must be near me.